Part 96. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 952. As soon as they arrived at the door of Uncle Zhang's house, Kazu, Shizu, and Kizu fell to the ground with their eyes straight. It was a shock. At this moment, in Uncle Zhang's yard, the villagers are helping to kill pigs. A big fat pig was pressed on the table, with 4 or 5 strong men helping, and Uncle Zhang was busy sharpening his knife at the moment. "Master, hold it down." Uncle Zhang spoke, then pressed the big fat pig's neck, and the sharp knife immediately penetrated. Bright red pig blood flowed out immediately. Under the table, Aunt Wang had already placed a basin, and now a large basin was filled with pig blood. The big fat pig let out its last piggy cry. "Ah!" Seeing this scene, Kazu suddenly screamed. He was trembling all over and almost convulsed. He couldn't wait to show his prototype. No. No. Witnessing the death of such a terrifying creature, I am infected with great cause and effect, great terror. Seizu was in a cold sweat. He recited the Heart Sutra incorrectly, and the Kalam Sutra, Zen Sutra, etc. were confused. Qi Xuangming even closed his eyes and covered his ears, which was so scary. They were all frightened. Without him, because that year the pig. It is clearly a supremely taboo beast. On weekdays, they would close their eyes whenever they saw one, otherwise they would be infected with the big karma and unimaginable things would happen. As a result, now, they actually saw the death of a supremely terrifying being. Killed alive. It's over, it's over. In Uncle Zhang's yard, the pigs had been killed, but when they heard Caoziu's scream, everyone couldn't help but turn around. What happened? Hey, isn't this Jing Chen and the others? Uncle Zhang and others were all confused. Next to him, Li Fan couldn't help but come over when he saw this. "You're back. Is it going well?" Li Fan asked with a smile. Zhang Li and the other 3 people immediately saluted and said, "Meet Master, it's been a smooth journey." Li Fan nodded, then looked at the 3 people sitting on the ground, a little confused, and said, "What happened to these 3 people?" Zhang Li looked a little complicated and said, "Master, they were probably frightened by the killing of the New Year pig." Scared by the New Year pig? Li Fan felt it was strange. He was such an old man and he was not a child. He could still be scared by a dead pig. They are the mentally ill people we brought back from outside this time. Zhang Li then spoke. Only then did Li Fan think it was reasonable. The mentally ill pig was frightened by the killing pig. Well, it makes sense. "You 3, please open your eyes. The scary scene is over. It's okay." Li Fan couldn't help but comfort him. Hearing this, Xiu Xiu, Cao Xiu, and Shi Xiu all subconsciously opened their eyes. But when they saw Li Fan in front of them, I was trembling all of a sudden. No. This scary scene is over. Kazu was so scared. He wanted to say, "Boss, you are the scariest one." However, he found that he couldn't close his eyes for the time being, so he had to bury his head in the soil. Shizu even hurriedly covered his eyes with his hands and said, "The old monk has never seen the real Buddha, the old monk has never seen it." Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, walking in the deep Prajnaparamita for a long time, saw that the 5 aggregates are all empty. I heard that for a while, the Buddha was in the lonely garden of the only tree in the country of Savatya. Chi ancestor was also shocked. He was extremely happy in his heart. Fortunately, he opened his left eye. If you dare to open your right eye in front of this kind of existence, you will definitely be ruined. However, even if your left eye is full of respect, you can't look directly at such a big man. But his eyes couldn't be closed at this moment. He simply looked up, and his open left eye was invisible, leaving only the whites of his eyes. This shocked Li Fan. This one-eyed dragon was so scary. He turned a blind eye and had a big white eye, so that no one would be scared. Zhongli immediately introduced them one by one and said, "Master, this is Qi Xuanming. He is passionate about playing chess. However, because he played chess against himself, he suffered from schizophrenia. When he opens his left eye and opens his right eye, he is completely different." Li Fan couldn't help but nodded. Schizophrenic, a complete mental illness. This old monk calls himself the patriarch of Buddhism and seems to be proficient in Buddhism. Zhongli introduced Shiziu, but before he finished speaking, Li Fan had already waved his hand and said, "He needs no introduction." Because, when Li Fan heard this, he wondered what kind of sutra this old monk was reciting. The Heart Sutra, Zen Sutra, Kalam Sutra, and Diamond Sutra were all in a mess and confused. How dare you claim to be proficient in Buddhism? A crazy monk. With that said, Li Fan looked at Cao Ziu and said, "What about this?" Zhongli said, His name is Jubian. He said he is a grass, a dog's tail grass." Li Fan understood that hysteria was in the advanced stage and there was no way to save it. "Master, we also brought back some prey this time, they are all good things." At this time, Lu Rang dragged the corpse of his prey forward. Li Fan glanced at it and his eyes couldn't help but light up. This was quite rich. It's a pity that it's not alive. It would be better to catch it alive. Next to him, the second uncle had already walked over and said, "This big black snake, your second uncle and I also ate it back then. The snake soup was amazing, the same goes for these big turtles. They were stewed in soup and were very healthy. But the few you caught are not old enough, I guess the effect is not very good," he commented. Lu Rang and others felt a little numb when they heard it. They were used to it. Are there any terrifying creatures in this world that the villagers have never eaten? The three of them, Shiziu, were even more dazed. This old man is actually so terrifying. He has eaten the negative chest turtle and the eternal ring demon snake before? What kind of existence are there in this village? They were even more frightened. Li Fan noticed that the three of them were trembling and couldn't help but said, "These three seem to be more seriously ill than those who came before. This state looks very abnormal. First take them aside to rest, stabilize their emotions, and then call Ming Tianbei to pick them up." Zhongli nodded and said, "Okay, master." He immediately said, "You three, please come with me." However, the three powerful ancestors could not move. Completely frightened, Zhongli had no choice but to pull them up one by one and line them up. He originally wanted to take them to Uncle Zhang's yard to sit and rest, but the three of them refused to move, which was scary. There was no other way, so Zhongli had no choice but to take them to the corner of the roadside. The three of them breathed a sigh of relief. "Wait here, don't run around, I'll call your dean." Zhongli ordered the three of them and left after speaking. "I think we can't stay in this place, otherwise, let's run away. Kazu is afraid." However, before they finished speaking, the three of them suddenly felt a chill of fear. When they looked up, they saw a little bird glancing at them vaguely on a tree with all its leaves. The three of them were immediately shocked and did not dare to move. "Damn it, if you want to run away, you can run away. I will never run away." Qi Xuanming spoke hurriedly. Shizu also said, "The dog has turned into a brother, stop talking nonsense. They are really scared. There are no creatures in this village that they can afford." At this time, the second uncle and others had already gone to the village to call for help. "The banquet is over, the banquet is over, let's eat pig-killing rice." The village suddenly became lively. "I wish everyone can eat pig-killing rice, good night." Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 953. Night falls. In the small mountain village, it is a lively place. On the table, there was half a big fat pig's pork. Uncle John cut the remaining pieces into strips, marinated them with salt, and prepared them for smoking bacon. Aunt Wang was helping stuff sausages and blood tofu, and she was very happy not to be busy. On the other side, the three Cao ancestors were trembling. Who are the people in this whole village? That kind of terrifying giant beast was actually just slaughtered as a pig. In addition, big turtles, big snakes, etc. have all been cut up, and the meat is arranged in piles, like a hill. At this time, Yun 11, Zi Ling and others also came from the small courtyard. So much meat. There's something delicious again. Everyone was very excited. No. That's... Shizu glanced at Yongzi in a daze, and his eyes were suddenly shocked. The end of 10,000 paths. He stared at Yun 11. And Kazu also said, "Oh, she is really still alive." The chess ancestor's right eye was closed tightly, and there was a hint of anxiety clearly hidden in his left eye, and he said, "Right eye, don't be a monster. If you dare to open it at this time, you will definitely be beaten." And Yun 11 also felt something, and immediately noticed the three people, walked over, blinked and said, "Are you the new psychopaths in the village?" The three Kazas were all a little confused. What kind of mental illness? Why do people in this village say that they and others are mentally ill? Do you have anything to give me? Yongzi spoke expectantly. All three of them suddenly had a shock in their minds. A piece of jade appeared in their sea of consciousness. This jade is hidden in our sea of consciousness, but we don't feel it at all. Kazu murmured, "Fortunately, I haven't messed around in these years." Qi Xuangming's face turned green, greener than Kazu. He trembled and said, "It's over. When I opened my right eye, I was so crazy, she knew everything about her existence, I will be beaten violently." He was worried. However, Yun 11 just stretched out his hand and took all the red dust jade fragments in their hands. Put together with the 6 broken jade pieces before, the shape of a character is about to appear. Yun 11 said with a sweet smile on his face. "It won't take long to get it all together." Shizio suddenly said uneasily. "Do you still remember us?" He felt that this girl was obviously the end of 10,000 paths, but she was different from that woman back then. It's different. The end of 10,000 paths back then was so magnificent that it surpassed all eternity. Now, she is so pure and innocent. Yun 11 shook his head and said, "I don't know you, but it doesn't matter. We'll get to know each other after dinner later." After saying that, she turned around and walked towards Li Fan, walked to Li Fan and said, "Big Devil, what are you going to make delicious today?" Zi Ling and others were also very excited and went over to surround Li Fan. Li Fan put on his apron and said with a smile, "Today we are going to eat pig-killing rice, mainly pork. I will make it for you whatever you want to eat." Hearing this, a group of disciples became even more happy. "I want to eat braised pork ribs with tons of radish, the best." Nanfeng spoke. "Master, can pigtails be braised in braised pork? The meat of pigtails is the most delicious." Zi Ling's eyes lit up. I want to eat the pig's hooves." Yongzi also signed up excitedly. Li Fan agreed one by one and started cooking with a smile. As for Shiziu, looking at this scene, a flash of deep regret flashed in his old eyes. She didn't resolve the relationship after all, but maybe this is the best ending for her. He muttered. On the other side, Ming Tianbei also arrived with his patients. "I bet it's really you three." As soon as he saw this, Yin Suan excitedly stepped forward to say hello. Seeing them, Shizu and the other three were also stunned. "Lao Wu, brother bitch, fellow Taoist Ching Cheng, brother demon, brother Mennan, blood ancestor, are all 6 of you here?" Cao Zio spoke unexpectedly. "Please be respectful. At this time, martial ancestor Luo Xin Chen looked serious and said, "Please call me number 1. Qing Cheng said calmly, "No 2. Yin Suan patted his chest, "No 3. Demon ancestor said, "Number 4. Men Nan, "No 5. Blood ancestor, "No 6. Kazu and the others were even more confused. What are these guys doing? Why report numbers? What is going on? Are you all really mentally ill? Shizu was at a loss. Yin Suan said, "Look, you are not sensible again. What happened to you becoming mentally ill? Lao Wu, let him taste your treasure." Luo Xin Chen shook his head hurriedly and said, "I've finished eating the spicy skin. Go find the devil. He still has 3 pieces of garlic. I saw it with my own eyes." Demon ancestor suddenly became unhappy and said angrily, "Are you spying on me? Damn it, I lost a piece of ginger the day before yesterday. Did you steal it?" Luo Xin Chen said seriously, "I didn't, don't talk nonsense." Demon ancestor reluctantly took out 3 pieces of garlic, handed them to Shizu and the others, and said, "If I couldn't eat today and replenish the inventory, I wouldn't give it to you." The 3 people took the 3 pieces of garlic, and they were all puzzled. This garlic looked like it was pulled out of leftovers. Moreover, it is all dried, and it feels like it has been stored for several days. Can this thing still be eaten? It smells like something extraordinary. Shizu mustered up the courage and took a bite. Suddenly, his old eyes lit up. What kind of supreme garlic is this?" Shizu was immediately excited. When this piece of garlic entered his body, his true nature underwent a strange change, as if he had been washed by the supreme medicine. This garlic must be a powerful plant, right? It was actually eaten by others. Kazu was in a trance for a while, and he suddenly felt that he was so rubbish. In the past, his ancestor was also famous in the Grey Mist Sea and was sought after by the world as a sacred herb and medicine. But now he feels that in this village, he can't even eat on the dining table. He is probably not qualified to feed pigs. After Qi Xuanming finished eating, he suddenly became excited, and he couldn't help but open his right eye. Suddenly, his breath became violent. He grabbed the demon ancestor and said, "Damn it, old demon ancestor, hand over all your garlic to me, or I will kill you." He raised his fist and was about to hit the demon ancestor in the face. When demon ancestor saw this, he did not resist directly, his expression did not change, and he said, "Master Dean, he blackmailed me." Next to him, Ming Tianbei was looking at the ground. Uncle Zhang and the others were picking up the pig hairs that they had cut from the pig skin. When he was interrupted, he became angry and whipped towards Qi Xuanming. Qi Xuanming's expression suddenly changed. As an ancestor, he was unable to resist or escape under this whip. "No." He spoke in horror. Snapped. A whip struck Qi Xuanming. Qi Xuanming let out a scream and fell to the ground, fainting. Everyone was shocked. The dean's whip is indeed extraordinary. Qi Ziu looked at the bullwhip in Ming Tianbei's hand, and his eyes were filled with tears. "I have already said that if the dean uses a whip, he will kill someone." Wu Luo Xin Chen shook his head. Even demon ancestor, Yin Suan, and others were frightened. The moment Ming Tianbei waved his whip, they had a creepy feeling that they were about to die. Ming Tianbei, who is holding this whip, will definitely kill gods when he sees him, and kill Buddha when he sees Buddha. When Ming Tianbei saw this, he was stunned for a moment. He glanced at the whip in his hand. So fierce? Did this new lunatic get himself beaten to death? He hurriedly put away his whip, walked to the chess ancestor Qi Xuanming, and said, "Hey! Old man, please don't die, isn't that the case? I'm already too young." Finally, Qi Xuanming woke up leisurely. This time, he actually opened both eyes at the same time. The moment he opened it, the arrogant and violent look in his right eye completely disappeared, leaving only the same clarity as his left eye. He immediately grabbed Ming Tianbei's hand and said excitedly, "Master Dean, you did a good job, that's great, you hit my right eye well." He was so excited. He plays chess for himself, and his left and right eyes are split, representing different personalities. When his right eye opens, he often cannot control himself and appears evil, violent, arrogant. However, Ming Tianbei's whip just now caused his right eye personality to disappear and he was beaten to death. From now on, he finally doesn't have to be schizophrenic anymore. "Dean, good fight, good fight." In his eyes, he was clearly extremely grateful, and he wished he could jump up and ask Ming Tianbei to give him 2 more whips. Ming Tianbei. He felt that what was sent this time was a real lunatic. He actually took the initiative to fight. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 954. True Ancestor Realm. The Visitors Hall. Xuanhuan and many other Supreme Elders have been waiting here for several days. During this period, their visitors did not dare to go out at will. I don't know if there is a way to crack the 9 laws on the other side of the Grey Mist Sea. Nowadays, the cultivation of the 9 methods is in full swing throughout the True Ancestor Realm. In just the past few days, several people who have opened the door to the 9 methods have appeared. Those who are on the road, I am afraid, will also appear one after another in the near future. If this continues, we will no longer be able to gain a foothold in the True Ancestor Realm. They are all very worried. One more thing, Huasi is dead. I don't know what happened to the 3 bones of the Forbidden Lord. I have to send someone to find them immediately. He spoke in a deep voice. Others nodded. The bones of the Forbidden Lord are too important. Report. Wan Kongyun, the elder of the outer sect, walked into the hall with a joyful expression and said, "For your information, Your Majesty, Ao Wushuan and Song Ji Yuan are back alive." The 2 of them brought back 3 real bones of the Forbidden Lord. Hearing this, all the Supreme Elders in the hall were suddenly shocked. What, these 2 people actually came back alive? We also brought back real bones, let them in quickly. Everyone was overjoyed. Soon, 2 men entered the main hall. Surprisingly, they are Ao Wushuan and Song Ji Yuan. It was the first time for both of them to enter such a top-secret place, so they both looked a little nervous. The villain Ao Wushuan pays homage to the elders. Song Ji Yuan, the villain, pays homage to all the elders. They both saluted. No need to be polite. He opened his mouth and said with concern, "Where are the real bones of the Forbidden Lord?" Ao Wushuan immediately took out a jade box, which contained 3 real bones. The 3 real bones have been completely revived, with no more cracks and bloodshot eyes. Seeing this, the eyes of many Supreme Elders were filled with excitement. Really revived? They were actually brought back safely. These 2 are amazing. To be able to come back alive from the place beyond the Dragon Pond and the Tiger's Den, and to be able to successfully complete the mission, these 2 people are truly God-sent blessings. They couldn't help but speak. They all understand how dangerous this Tianjian continent is. The top 10 overlords are all dead. Under such circumstances, Ao and Song could actually do this. This performance can be called extremely outstanding, and directly defying the heavens. At this moment, the coffin behind them suddenly made a bang 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 sound. It was like something was hitting the coffin, very quickly. You see, even the Forbidden Lord is very happy. Interpretation Master He couldn't help but speak. In the coffin, the Forbidden Lord said. It was speechless. It was not happy, it was scared. However, he could no longer resist as he was held tightly by two leg bones. Outside, he stepped forward and took the jade box. Very good. He was a little excited, waved his hand and said. You two have repeatedly made great achievements and are loyal to the Lord. I have decided to promote you two to the rank of Supreme Elder. From today on, you two have a place in this forbidden hall. As he spoke, he looked at Xuanhuan and others and said. Do you have any opinions? Everyone shook their heads. As it should be. This kind of person is most suitable to be a Supreme Elder. Passed unanimously. Congratulations to the two Supreme Elders. Xuanhuan, the elder of the outer sect, all hurried forward to salute and congratulate. His eyes were filled with envy. Not long ago, Xuanhuan and Xuanhuan were just unknown minions in the organization. It has only been a few short months, but both of them have reached great heights. This speed. Who could not be envious? Xuanhuan, on the other hand, was so excited that he burst out of joy. I became the Supreme Elder. His eyes were full of tears. This feeling is like a beggar suddenly becoming an emperor, just like in a dream. He turned around, wiped his tears, looked at Xuanhuan, and said. Brother, we too have managed to survive. Xuanhuan was a little confused. He sucked all the bones of the Forbidden Lord, and they still gave him such a high status. He felt inexplicable and felt a little weak. Okay, now, let's quickly send the bones of the Forbidden Lord in. Immediately, Xuanhuan and others opened the bone coffin. 3 real bones were immediately submerged into it. There was a sudden crackling sound in the coffin. The Forbidden Lord is so happy, listen. Xuanhuan spoke. Others are also full of expectations. Only Xuanhuan's eyes were a little straight at the moment. Through the coffin, he clearly felt it. Those bones that he had absorbed, at this moment. It was clearly inside, suppressing the part that was not absorbed by him and beating him wildly. Damn! Is this a rebellion? Xuanhuan immediately panicked. He took his time and hid, so as not to be discovered. Otherwise, you will definitely be out of luck. As soon as he had this thought, the noise in the coffin suddenly became much quieter. There's news. At this moment, in the main hall, a sinister voice suddenly sounded. Everyone turned around suddenly. Du Lao has quietly appeared. Meet Du Lao. Xuanhuan and others immediately saluted. Xuanhuan and Xuanhuan didn't know what was going on, but they also saluted. A real big shot is coming to the true ancestor realm from the other side of the grey mist sea. Du Lao spoke and said. You must prepare immediately, especially the Great Wall of Bones, which is extremely dangerous and unpredictable. A gap must be opened for that big shot. Xuanhuan and others couldn't help being surprised when they heard this. Big shot. Could it be that he is still above the Overlord? I'll wait, follow your orders. They all spoke. Who are you? Suddenly, Du Lao frowned and looked at Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan congratulated, Qi Zhendu, this person is the newly promoted Supreme Elder. He and Xuanhuan have brought back the bones of the Forbidden Lord from dangerous situations many times in a row. They have made great contributions. There happens to be 2 Supreme Elders who are vacant. Therefore, we unanimously agreed to let them be promoted to Supreme. Du Lao nodded and said. Very good, the newly promoted Supreme Lord should serve as an organization and make new achievements. He said secretly. The Forbidden Lord still has 3 bones that cannot be revived. You two should take them with you to meet the big man in the grey mist sea. After saying that, he opened the bone coffin, and 3 real bones suddenly appeared in it. Put it into a jade box and hand it to Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan took the jade box and felt happy in his heart. Fortunately, it was packed in a jade box. If it were placed directly in my hand, then I would be exposed on the spot. As ordered, the two of us will work hard. Song Ji-yuan spoke happily. He had just been promoted to Supreme Elder and he was full of energy. Immediately, the two of them took the Forbidden Lord's true bones and turned around and left. By the way, Huiyan, Huisha, you two go with them. Du Lao suddenly spoke again. Huiyan and Huisha immediately bowed and turned around. Du Lao, what's the problem? He noticed something unusual and cautiously asked Du Lao. Du Lao shook his head and said. This Ao Wushuan, I can't see through it. I'm afraid there's something wrong with him. I have just sent a message to Huiyan to kill him directly after the Forbidden Lord's bone is activated. He is cruel and ruthless, even if there is no certainty, as long as there is a trace of suspicion. Enough. Hui's face turned grim. Please contact the World Sacrifice Temple quickly. It is only appropriate to let them handle the matter of the Great Wall of Bones. If it can be perfect this time, maybe all can go to the Grey Mist Sea. When Hui and others heard this, they were very excited and said. I will contact Changsun Changqing immediately. He has uncovered the traitors within the Temple of the Sacrifice. The failure of our previous plans was more or less related to Ji Wulu. Now, with Changsun Changqing here, it should be safe. Du Lao nodded, turned, and left immediately. Install. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 955. The Temple of Sacrifice to the World. In the Sea of Grey Mist, a big shot is about to pass through. Changsun Changqing opened his mouth and said. The inspector wants us to cooperate and open the Great Wall of Bones to allow that big shot to pass. Hearing this, the other ultimates all had happy expressions on their faces. So best. The Grey Mist Sea has finally taken action. If this continues, it won't be long before the ultimate masters of the 9 Dharma in the world will emerge one after another. Changsun Changqing suddenly looked at Wu Jiandao and said. Brother Wu, if you still have someone we can use at the border, I'll bother you. How about that? The last time, it was people from the Ji family and the Wu clan who helped usher people from the Grey Mist Sea across the border. After Ji Wulu was confirmed to be a traitor, Changsun Changqing notified the Great Wall to eliminate everyone in the Ji clan in the name of purging spies. Now, only the people from the Wu clan are left. Wu Jiandao nodded and said. Good. After arranging all this, everyone left immediately. Brother Ning. Changsun Changqing stopped Ning Tianji. Brother Changqing, Ning Tianji asked. Changsun Changqing said slowly. I suspect that there is a mole among us. Hearing this, Ning Tianji was immediately startled and said, Who else? Changsun Changqing said. Have you forgotten that the last time someone came from the Grey Mist Sea, Ji Wulu took the initiative to request that the Ji family and the Wu clan go to pick him up? Since Ji Wulu is a traitor, why would he let the Wu clan participate? There is only one possibility. A look of surprise flashed across Ning Tianji's face, and he said. You mean, Wu Jindao, also? Changsun Changqing said. Still needs confirmation. This time, I asked him to pick up the strong man who came from the Grey Mist Sea just to test him. If everything goes well, forget it, but if something happens, I'm afraid my guess will be true. Ning Tianji nodded solemnly and said. Okay, Brother Changqing, don't worry, if he is really a traitor, I will kill him. After Ning Tianji left, Changsun Changqing sent a secret message. There will be important people passing through the Grey Mist Sea, and the people placed by the Wu clan at the border will open the Great Wall for them. Lure and kill. This message is sent to the border. Shortly after, on top of the Great Wall of Bones at Border Pass, General Qi Tiangang, looking into the abyss. Suddenly, he lowered his head and took out a secret talisman. After reading the information from the secret talisman, a chill suddenly flashed across his eyes. Instructions are given to rotate the generals patrolling the city. This time, they are patrolling the city in the north of Wufeng of the Wu clan. He spoke coldly. On the other side, there is a beacon tower. Wufeng Bei received news from his clan to open a corner of the Great Wall. His face looked a little ugly. This was very difficult. It takes the right time. Grown-ups. At this time, a guard walked in from outside and said, "The general has ordered that you patrol the Great Wall in rotation." Hearing this, Wufeng Bei was immediately overjoyed. Sea of Grey Fog. Before Tianyuan, tens of millions of troops were prepared for war. The faces of all the creatures were extremely solemn. Ever since we learned a few days ago that the top 10 overlords had all died in the true ancestor realm, no one dared to take it lightly anymore. They were even on defense, fearing that someone from the true ancestor realm would rush over. After all, the death of the 10 overlord level beings is enough to make their arrogance disappear. Today, in the Sea of Grey Fog, the terrifying Grey Avenue mark turned into a bridge of light, spreading out and arriving directly in front of Tianyuan. Someone big is traveling. The leader of the alliance is here in person. Everyone was shocked. I heard that the leader of the alliance wants to go to the true ancestor realm in person. The leader of the alliance is a person summoned by the true ancestors. In the past, he definitely represented the will of the true ancestors. This world will be destroyed. The leader is invincible. Many people shouted in unison. The master of the time and space palace has fallen from the Daoguang bridge and appeared in front of Tianyuan. Everyone under the true ancestor can pass through. Looking ahead at the bridge in the abyss, the master of time and space palace looked indifferent and said, "A bridge made of the bones of 10 murderers, haha, today, I will step on it myself." He waved his hand, and 8 overlords immediately followed behind him. The overlord of the three-winged fierce deer clan, Deer Ba. The overlord of the Grey Jiao tribe, Xuanhuan. They are all elite. Gui Shao, you will lead the army and wait here. When my order is given, you will lead the army into the true ancestor realm. The master of time and space palace looked at the negative chess turtle and spoke calmly. This old turtle is the oldest overlord of the Lucky Luagui clan and is very powerful. This time, the 3 strongest descendants of Luogui clan died in the true ancestor realm. This made him extremely angry. He personally left the seclusion and brought all the powerful people from Wanzingai with him. A total of 5 million powerful people. Now, the Lord of Time and Space Palace has handed over the entire Grey Mist Sea army to Gui Shao's leadership. Respect the leader's order. Gui Shao spoke immediately. After arranging everything, the Lord of Time and Space took the 8 overlords and stepped onto the bridge made of 10 corpses in the abyss. True Ancestor Realm. The northern border, beyond the Great Wall of Bones. Outside Tianyuan, there is a team of guards guarding it day and night. The leader holds a long sword in his hand. He is one of the 18 swords of the Chen clan, Chen Feng. Today's Tianyuan light bridge can definitely accommodate the transit of the ultimate. Chen Feng murmured and said, "Isn't the Grey Mist Sea coming yet?" He tightened his grip on his shuriken, having waited for too long. Suddenly, he felt something and looked up. I saw a group of people walking slowly on the light bridge. There are creatures passing through Tianyuan. Chen Feng suddenly shouted, drew his sword instantly, and roared. "Blow the horn." With one stroke of his sword, he set off a burst of wind and thunder, slashing at the creatures in the abyss. At the same time, the guards around him were eager to blow their horns. However, on the light bridge, the leader raised his hand. "No." Chen Feng felt his eyes darken, and he fell down. A group of guards around him also lost consciousness. On the light bridge, a total of 9 people have stepped onto the land of the true ancestor realm. Feeling the aura of this world, their expressions all showed some doubts. It seems that it is very weak, there are not many strong people. Liu Bie looked at a group of guards who had fallen on the ground. According to the information we received, the strongest cultivators in this world are just on the road. They are like ants, not very strong in the first place. Xuanhuan said. The scary thing is not the creatures in this world, but the woman at the end of the world. As he spoke, he was a little worried and said, Leader, in front of us, there should be the great wall of bones left behind at the end of 10,000 paths. If we get close, we're afraid it will cause a change. Everyone was a little worried. Now, they are very afraid of what is left behind at the end of 10,000 paths. Liu Bie said. Don't worry, according to the feedback from the visitors, the world's sacrificial temple has been arranged for us. We passed through the Zhentian gate at the edge of the Great Wall. It has been opened there. Everyone was relieved after hearing this. For them, the only threat is the Great Wall of Bones. As for the Great Wall guards, they didn't take it seriously at all. Immediately, they entered a hidden state and approached the Great Wall of Bones. Everyone was shocked when they saw the Great Wall of Bones. This Great Wall of Bones is almost entirely made of the bones of overlord-level creatures. Liu Bie was stunned. So many prehistoric overlords died at the hands of Wandao ending. I even vaguely felt the aura of the true ancestor. Has she even massacred the true ancestor? Everyone was shocked. At the same time, as they got closer to the Great Wall of Bones, they felt an inexplicable sense of chilling and threatening. It seems as if he is approaching death. Many overlords were in a cold sweat, and even thought of quitting. This is the natural oppression of the Great Wall on them, which comes from the shock to their bones. Because their ancestors, countless powerful people, died here, and the aura of death made them instinctively afraid. But the Master of Time and Space Palace didn't say anything, so they could only bite the bullet and follow. Finally, they arrived in front of the Great Wall of Bones. I saw ahead, and sure enough, a gate of the Great Wall of Bones was opened. It's the Gentianmen. They quickly entered the city gate hole. Let's go there quickly. Facing this Great Wall is really scary. An overlord couldn't help but speak. The oppression the Great Wall gave him was too strong. But, he just finished speaking. In the Great Wall of Bones, a terrifying secret power suddenly circulated, turning into a heavenly sword and slashing down suddenly. No. How is this going? Everyone was shocked. The Master of Time and Space Palace suddenly waved his hand, and 4 overlords were immediately forced forward by him to greet the death sword. Boom! In front of the Great Wall of Bones, 4 groups of grey blood mist exploded, and the aura was shocking. This alarmed the entire Great Wall of Bones. What is that? It was a terrifying existence in the sea of grey mist. It tried to sneak across the border, but was killed by the Great Wall on its own initiative. It turns into blood mist, but it still gives people a thrilling feeling. Is this a strong man who has surpassed the one on the road? Everyone was shocked. On a beacon tower in the distance, Qi Tiangang looked in the direction of Zhentian Gate, his eyes extremely solemn, and said, Overlord level. Have you finally endured the grey mist sea? Behind him, Wu Fengbei had been tied up by 2 swordsmen. Seeing this scene at this moment, he couldn't help but tremble. It's over. It turns out that I was being monitored by the general from beginning to end. The general used himself to lure the powerful men from the grey mist sea over, and then trapped and killed them. I screwed up everything this time. General, have mercy on me, have mercy on me, I know my mistake. Give me a chance to live. He fell to his knees, wept and begged. However, Qi Tiangang turned around and said, No, you are not wrong. You still have great achievements. He suddenly smiled slightly and said, From today on, you are the commander of the Great Wall. The great commander is second only to the great general. Hearing this, Wu Fengbei was stunned. What does this mean? Take him down, don't kill him yet. Qi Tiangang had already waved his hand. Wu Fengbei was immediately taken away. Then, Qi Tiangang continued to pass the order. Send a letter to the 9 ancient tribes, tell them that Wu Fengbei has made great achievements by killing several overlords of the Grey Mist Sea, and has been appointed as the commander-in-chief of the Great Wall. As he spoke, a smile appeared in his eyes, he took out the secret talisman and murmured. Chang Sun, the rear, I'll leave it to you. And at this moment, behind the Great Wall, there is a vast land. In the void, 5 figures suddenly appeared. It was the Lord of Time and Space Palace, as well as 4 overlords including Liu Bie and Xuanhuan. They actually didn't die. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 956. Martial Wilderness World. Small village. In the evening, the village is very lively. Every household, men, women, old and young came. For rural people, the Chinese New Year is the most lively festival, and the pig killing before the New Year has the strongest atmosphere. It's on the table. The villagers have gathered together and sat around the table. Li Fan had also taken off his apron and sat at the same table with his disciples. The table is full of all kinds of delicious food. The snake soup is fragrant, the turtle soup is nourishing, the farm-style stir-fried pork slices are tempting, and the cabbage boiled with pig blood exudes steam. The pork ribs are stewed with radish, and the meat is so tender. The soup is so thick. Nanfan couldn't help but serve a bowl of pork rib soup first, tasted it, and was full of praise. Moreover, after the broth entered her body, she immediately felt like a supreme source of energy, pouring into her whole body, turning into amazing energy and exploding. At this moment, the aura of the south wind suddenly increased, directly stepping from the 7th realm of soul enlightenment to the 8th realm of flawless realm. She has become the Chaos Spirit King. This pork is so strong. Nanfan couldn't help but be shocked, this was just a mouthful of soup. Braised pigtail, so delicious, the meat is glutinous, Xian Ning will share it with you. Zi Ling picked up the braised pig's tail. She and Xian Ning liked this the most. The two of them divided it and started nibbling. Nibbling on the pig's tail, the two of them became very breathy. Step directly into the realm of flawlessness. When Wu Dade, Qing Chen, Long Zixuan, Lu Rang and others saw this, their eyes also shone. The meat from this year's pig is better than any meat I've eaten before. Long Zixuan couldn't help being surprised. Eat, eat, the pigs that Uncle Zhang has been feeding for a year must be good. Wu Dade couldn't help it. This plate of boiled meat is big and fat. Who else would it be if I could save it? Qing Chen takes off the chopsticks directly. Suddenly, everyone started eating. The auras also progressed together, and they all entered the realm of the spiritual king. Moreover, the breath is still growing, and this is just the beginning of eating. Yongzi looked at the braised hooves in front of him, rolled up his sleeves, and said, "This pig's trotters are so big, but they are not easy to chew." Faced with the big braised pig's trotters, it was a little difficult for her to start. "I'll help you break it up before you eat it. Don't get your clothes dirty." Li Fan spoke, immediately picked up the big braised ladder, broke it into small pieces, tore off the meat, and then handed it to Yun 11. "Thank you, Demon King." Yongzi was very happy and started eating immediately. On the other side, Ming Tianbei, Shuiji, and other demon commanders, along with a group of mentally ill people, also sat at a large table. "Do you remember your numbers?" Before dinner started, Ming Tianbei asked the 3 new mentally ill people. Shizu nodded and said, "I know 7. Kazu said, "Remember, I am number 8. Qi Xuanming said. I am number 9. There was a hint of reluctance in his eyes. He felt that if his right eye hadn't acted like a monster just now and angered the dean, he might have been able to get ahead in the queue. Okay, let's eat. Ming Tianbei nodded. After hearing the dean's words, a group of ancestral beings who were obediently waiting for the meal immediately picked up their chopsticks and started grabbing. They put in various seasonings in the dish. Mom, demon ancestor, don't go too far. I must have some ginger slices this time. Luo Xin Chen roared. Whoever dares to snatch the spicy skin from the stir-fried pork with me, I will beat him to death. Men Nan directly carried the big hammer out, and while swinging it, he hurriedly pinched the pepper skin from the meat. Even Ching Cheng swiped his chopsticks across 3 plates of meat and said coldly, "Would you like to try a piece?" Yin Suan stretched out the chopsticks, and was startled for a moment. He said sarcastically, "Forget it, I won't compete with women for food." Then put the chopsticks directly into the moza bowl. Demon Ancestor was immediately angry. The Blood Ancestor, however, stopped grabbing it this time. He looked at the large bowl of pig blood stewed with cabbage, his eyes lit up, and he directly picked up several pieces of pig blood. Then, I took a bite. Boom. In an instant, his breath suddenly exploded. In the Blood Ancestor's Dao scenery, the regular avenue condensed rapidly, and for a moment, there was a fairy light flashing. He has seen a fairy. The immortal he saw was a woman in white, extremely beautiful. Bloody evil. The Blood Ancestor's expression changed drastically, and he was confused for a moment. Because, the immortals he saw in the foreseeing realm. He is exactly the same as Zhang Shui. It should be noted that in the realm of 4 views, those who embark on the road will see the shadows left by those who came before them on the same road. Some people will turn into ghosts if they fall short of their achievements and hold eternal grudges. Someone who transcends the ordinary world can leave a trace of magic. Some people are perfect, but what remains is the stigmata. Someone who dominates a path can be called the god of that path. But, didn't Zhang Shui, a bloodthirsty person, only go as far as the road in his previous life and then perish? Why can she leave a fairy trail on the road of blood? Even when he was doubtful, his realm continued to improve. Passed by Jianxian and arrived at Jiansheng. The holy figure he saw was also a woman in white. There seemed to be an endless river of blood flowing around her, but she was spotless and flawless. The Blood Ancestor was shocked again. Zhang Shui, did he ever reach the frontier of the blood path? This is impossible. While he was breaking through the realm, he did not forget to continue to eat pig blood. The terrifying source of energy turned into pig blood directly pushed him to the final level of the 4 views. See God. At this moment, he clearly saw such a scene in the Taoist scenery. In the ups and downs of the surging blood river, in the endless blood-colored world, there is a supreme being. She is immaculately dressed in white, sitting on the throne indifferently, looking down at the world, and seems to dominate everything. This is the God he saw. What the hell? He was a little dumbfounded. Zhang Shui, what is the origin? Isn't being a bloody murderer her deepest identity? Just when he was shocked, the other mentally ill people around him who were competing for onions, ginger, garlic, and other seasonings were also shocked. They all looked directly at him. Damn, he's been away for 4 years. Demon Ancestor was simply shocked. How is this possible? What he ate was pig blood. Luo Xingchen's sharp eyes immediately looked at the pig blood, his eyes lit up, and he immediately took off his chopsticks. However, Yin Suan said, "No. Pig's blood, I understand. Damn, this pig is a pig raised by people in the village, not garbage meat like grey pig." As soon as he slapped his thigh, his intestines turned green. He hurriedly took down his chopsticks to grab the meat. The others also reacted, and they were so cruel. Damn it, the pigs raised in the village have taboos on this kind of meat. This meat is much more precious than onions, ginger, and garlic. It's wrong, it's wrong. I'm going to leave some for me. Demon ancestor, Meng Nan, etc. all went crazy, and people were coming and going at the dinner table. The three newcomers were all a bit messy. Isn't this, snatching it too fast? They hold chopsticks but don't know where to start. This, it won't work, hurry, do it quickly, or you won't even be able to eat the damn condiments. Caozu immediately panicked and hurriedly started to hold out his chopsticks. My Buddha is merciful. The old monk has bad teeth and can only eat fat meat. You should respect the old and love the young. Shizuo couldn't bear it anymore. Even Ming Tianbei and Shueji were startled. Eat quickly, these mentally ill people are going crazy. They couldn't help but speed up. Sleep. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 957. The 9 psychopaths are simply vying for all kinds of fat on the table. If Ming Tianbei's whip hadn't been a deterrent, there might have been a fight. The second uncle looked at everyone and couldn't help but sigh, thinking how miserable these mentally ill people are. It looks like they have never eaten meat. In fact, the villagers have long been tired of eating pork. He took a spoonful of old turtle soup and tasted it. I haven't had it for many years. Well, although the quality of the meat is not very good, Xiao Li's cooking skills are good and it is still very good. After drinking the soup, he couldn't help but speak, looked at many mentally ill people and said, "No need to grab, there is enough meat tube for today." In fact, needless to say, this group of psychopaths quickly stopped. Because they found that they couldn't eat the pork anymore. The energy and origin energy contained in the pork was so terrifying that even though they were ancestral beings, they couldn't bear it. Moreover, after they ate the pork, they all fell into a state of collapse. Boom! Wuzuluo Xingqian's Taoist land roared, and the road to martial arts rules was suddenly widened countless times, heading deeper into the Taoist land. His 3 souls and 7 souls are advancing along the path of martial arts to heaven. Soon, he saw a figure shrouded in martial arts immortal light. When he looked closely, he saw that it was an extremely powerful man with a breathtaking aura. Wrong. However, Luo Xingqian was immediately shocked because the martial arts immortal he saw was actually Long Zixuan. How can this be? In Long Zixuan's previous life, he never even passed the 4 realms. And only those beings who are marching forward on the avenue of chaos and reaching the sky in the martial arts can possibly reflect the shadow of immortals in the martial arts scenery. Immediately afterwards, he saw the saint of martial arts and the god of martial arts. There is no doubt that they are all the same person. Long Zixuan. It's not just Luo Xingqian. At this moment, other people were also passing by Sijian, and they all saw similar scenes. In the alluring Taoist scenery, fairy music roared, guiding her to explore deeper into her own music. He saw a woman playing the piano in the long river of time, detecting the movement of fairy light. That is not a low-level immortal way at all, but a forbidden immortal light. Around her, musical notes turned into cranes and colorful butterflies, lingering around her. Qinzun, Nanfan. Qing Cheng couldn't help but whisper, she was a little distracted. Later, she saw the true sage of Qin Dao, who was still the south wind. Her music turned into the moon, the sun, and the clear sound between heaven and earth, seeming to illuminate the darkness. In the last scene, she saw the god of sound. In the deepest part, there was a vast ocean, with wailing all over the place. The sound of the piano played with the death of life, and only the back of the south wind was left. Yin Xuan was flying with his sword in his own Taoist scenery, and he was extremely happy. If God had not given birth to me, Yin Xuan, the swordsmanship would be as long as the night, ha 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 ha, I would respect the swordsmanship. He sang forward, but the next moment, he almost staggered and fell from the sword condensed by rules. Because, he saw in the years, there seemed to be a forbidden sword immortal, coming towards him with a sword from the west. Duguyuking, sword master. Yin Xuan was shocked. At the same time, the sword struck by the shadow of the sword immortal made him feel frightened, and he hurriedly said, "If you have something to say, I admit that you are the second best in swordsmanship." Yin Xuan has always been very sincere. However, the sword light flashed past his eyes, but it did not really fall on him. After all, what is reflected on the road of swordsmanship in Daojing land is only the scene from countless years ago, which was left behind by the former strongest swordsman and the master of swordsmanship. That's weird. Isn't that kid just on the road? How come there is the shadow of the sword immortal left by him on the road of swordsmanship? Is time and space confused? Yin Xian was puzzled. Afterwards, he kept a much lower profile. When he saw Zhuge the sage and god of swordsmanship, he passed by quietly and did not dare to disturb him. Demon Ancestor saw the back of a little girl in the Taoist scenery. The little girl seemed to be chasing something. She stepped on the forbidden path of immortals and demons. She walked away from the long river of time. It seemed that she had been pursuing it without looking back. She only left a line of shallow footprints on the path of the devil. No wonder you're smarter than me. Was the top student ever so powerful? Demon Ancestor murmured. Only now did he realize that the difference between him and Xuanhuan was not only the difference between having a good teacher, but also that Xuanhuan looked so similar, but his starting point was unimaginable. Even the newly arrived Shiziu, Caoziu, and Chiziu are breaking through the realm at this moment. Yin Xuan and others told them that they only need to open the Dao Jingdi to easily eliminate the ghosts in the Dao Jingdi, so they had a particularly easy time seeing the ghosts. Unexpectedly, the ghost that once made us dare not take a step forward, in front of this small mountain village, is as fragile as mist. Shizu was so moved that he marched forward singing Zen songs in the Taoist landscape. Soon, he saw a scene of a monk eating meat over the years. The monk's feet were covered with mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and his clothes were stained red by the killings. However, he was so cool that he planted a Bodhi tree on the enemy's flesh and blood, and then sat cross-legged under the Bodhi tree, randomly tearing off the flesh and blood from the corpses of endless terrifying creatures and chewing them. That monk was obviously doing extremely bloody things, but his immortal light erupted, making people want to worship him. Qing Chen, the fairy shadow left behind. Shizu was shocked. The cause and effect of the past are like this, I seem to have understood it clearly, it turns out. It turns out that only by eating a lot of meat can you stand at the highest point of the Brahma. His consciousness continued to advance in the Taoist scenery, but his body in the small mountain village did not forget to eat fat meat and his mouth was full of oil. Soon, he saw Qing Chen of the forbidden holy path. The vast Buddha's light, the transcendent shore, the endless pure land of Brahma, envelopes thousands of living beings. As for the Shinto monk, there was a sudden change. He was in a state of annihilation. The endless Buddhist kingdoms were all annihilated. The pure land of Brahma was covered with black paths, filled with ghosts and shadows, and the monk frowned. Why do I feel that, behind Qing Chen, there are horrifying ghost stories? Shiziu whispered. Qi Xuangming, the ancestor of chess, was walking along the chess path, and he soon saw two figures. They were two figures in the years, and they were listed as immortals of forbidden chess. One of them had two completely different eyes, one black and one white, a mixture of immortals and demons, and the same good and evil. The other person has a melancholic temperament, and there always seems to be a sentimentality between his eyebrows. The two are playing chess. Chess Lord. Xuanhuan recognized the melancholy man. What about the other person? Who is it again? Immediately afterwards, he stepped through the light of the immortal Dao and saw the shadow of the holy Dao. This time, the man with one black eye and one white eye disappeared, leaving only the melancholy man walking alone. That being with black and white eyes later chose another path? Didn't he just follow the path of chess anymore? Xuanhuan murmured. He felt that the man who played against the chess master before was also extremely powerful and should not be able to reach the level of the sage of chess. There is only one possibility, that person chose another path. As for the road ahead in chess, Zhang Li is the only one to walk alone. Then, he saw the god of chess again. It was still Zhang Li, but Xuanhuan was shocked and frightened by the Zhang Li he saw this time. Because, Zhang Li's body was covered with dense blood lines, as if he was haunted by something strange, but his chess lines pierced through the darkness. This is what happened. Xuanhuan, the ancestor of chess, felt an inexplicable panic. Kazu walked across the green grass. He saw a man who was stepping on a green avenue and had a palace emitting green light in his hands, which he had molded into the shape of a hat. When the man saw Cao coming over, he picked up his hat as if to put it on Cao. Nima. Kazu hurried past, so fast. However, when he looked back, he found that it was just a shadow in the years. What a bad taste. Kazu couldn't help but complain. He already understood that the man who left this immortal shadow clearly predicted that he would appear in the Taoist scenery of all the people who came after him when he arrived at the forbidden immortal, so he deliberately made a gesture of picking up his hat and giving it to the people who came after him. The action of putting it on. What a loss. In this way, all the grassroots experts with some potential will be cuckolded by him. That's too much. But how come this guy looks exactly like Xingzun Lurang? Cao was confused. Then, he saw the holy shadow again. It was still the man, but this time only his back was left. He didn't know what he was facing, and the green palace in his hands was cracked. Finally, Cao saw the third divine shadow, a grass sprouting from the darkness, extremely strange. Weird, so weird. Kazu felt a little guilty and withdrew from the Taoist scenery. Opening his eyes, he subconsciously looked at the others and said, "You guys met me 4 times, did you see anything?" Other mentally ill people all nodded solemnly at this moment. Immediately, their eyes turned to the other table subconsciously. At that table, Li Fan and a group of disciples were eating and drinking. They were so unhappy that they didn't notice them at all. Only the big black dog at the table suddenly looked over. There was a hint of menace in the dog's eyes, and it let out a low growl, as if it was a serious warning. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 958. Late at night. A bonfire was lit in the village, and everyone huddled close to the bonfire, absorbing the warmth of the flames. Some children were bored and made some pork to lean on the fire, but the adults were all full. The Chinese New Year will be at the end of the month. Yeah, I remember that times were difficult before. The old people called the New Year, because it was like passing the New Year. Now it's better. It's peaceful. Even if I'm a little poorer, I'm happy. It's better to have something to eat and drink, than to live in different places, looking for a living. The villagers gathered together to chat, talking a lot about the new year and the past. Xiao Li, you have been in our village for 4 or 5 years, why haven't you married a wife yet? At this time, Aunt Wang and a group of middle-aged women suddenly made fun of Li Fan. Li Fan's Hung was discussing with the second uncle and the others about writing spring festival couplets during the Chinese New Year. Suddenly this topic was brought up and he hurriedly said, "No, thank you for your concern, Auntie, don't worry." Aunt Wang said, You are already a grown-up, so how can you not be anxious? Look at the people in the village who are as old as you, they all have 2 children. But at this time, several peasant women next to them laughed and said, Sister Wang, don't worry about it. Is Xiao Li still worried that he can't find a wife? He is so capable, he can have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Look at Yun 11, Zhang Shui, and... They were joking, but for a moment Yungzi and the others couldn't help but blush. Even Li Fan couldn't resist any more and said hurriedly. Sir, go get some wine quickly. Let's all drink together. He changed the subject. Wu Date immediately stood up and went to get drinks. Aunt Wang and others burst out laughing when they saw this. Young man just can't help feeling ashamed. Xiao Li is still naive. He didn't cherish it when he was young. When he gets older, he will regret it to death. Next to them, a group of mentally ill people were shocked. This scene simply subverted their cognition. The end of 10,000 paths, and that person. What kind of person is he? When they took one look at it, they were all afraid of being infected by karma and afraid that they wouldn't be able to bear it. However, now they are just like ordinary men and women in a mortal village, being teased about life events and urged to get married. It opened my eyes. Luo Xingchen couldn't help but murmur. In fact, maybe the people in the village do not regard themselves as supreme beings, but are really experiencing the world of mortals and living their lives like mortals. Qing Cheng is thoughtful. The vast world of mortals is the other side, I suddenly understood. Shizu sighed with emotion. At this moment, he suddenly understood what Qing Chen meant when he inspired the Brahma in his previous life, saying that the other shore is only in the world of mortals. Soon after, Wu Date came over with drinks in his arms. What I drank today was still Baogas Hao. The weather is cold in winter, so drinking this is the best way to warm your body. Everyone poured the drinks one by one. This is the time to drink. Nanfan whispered, she had just eaten a meal and was already the Chaos Spirit King. She saw the door. But he hasn't pushed it away yet. Because, that door, it takes 3 souls and 7 souls to open it. At this moment, she was holding a bowl full of wine and slowly drank it. As the wine entered her body, she felt a sense of drunkenness slowly coming over her. In her drunken state, she forgot that she had no soul and could only remember her. Boom! The door opened directly. At this moment, behind Nanfeng, a world that seemed as if it were imaginary or real emerged. There was no fog in that world, it was an empty golden world. When she stepped into it, colorful butterflies appeared inexplicably, and musical notes turned into cranes. She opened the door successfully. He is already a master of the realm of opening the door. There is no fog in my Taoist scenery, only emptiness. Where do the colorful butterflies come from? Where do the cranes come from? A flash of doubt flashed in Nanfan's heart. Long Xuanhuan also opened the door to martial arts. There was also no fog in his Tao scenery. The moment he entered, the roar of a real dragon filled the air. Lu Rang entered the Daijing area, but he was a little confused. His Daijing area was a green grassland, and there was no fog except for the grass. The moment Zhuge Yuqing entered the Dao scenery, the sword of the Dao rules appeared at his feet, and he could fly in the sky. In the pure Taoist scenery, the shadow of the Bodhi tree flashed past, and the shadow of the golden monkey greeted it. When Zhang Li entered the Daijing area, he saw a chessboard placed on one side, which seemed to be the remnants of 2 people playing chess. However, he could not see clearly the game on the chessboard. That's just the shadow of time. When Wu Date entered the Taoist landscape, various horrific scenes appeared, including knives falling from the sky, thorns growing on the ground, and occasionally fierce fire, which made him miserable. In Xinning's Taoist landscape, there is a line of shallow footprints, like those left by a child as old as herself, who has gone somewhere. Many disciples seem to be a little drunk. Even Yun 11's face was flushed. She hugged Li Fan's arm, leaned on Li Fan's shoulder, and fell asleep. On the other side, Cao Ziu, Shiziu, and Chiziu were all shocked. After drinking a glass of wine, their origins completely changed from grey mist to white mist. This is simply a change of destiny. Now, all 9 of their ancestral beings have reached the 4th level and are now considered overlords. Moreover, they have been dormant for countless years, but now they have accumulated a lot of experience, soared into the sky, and their cultivation level is also invincible at the same level. Hiccup, come on, I'll give you the baby. Ming Tianbei was a little drunk, but at this moment he took out a torn bag, which was full of pig hair. Dean, I want it. Yin Suan said in surprise. This thing is used to make a wig. After wearing it, is there any place in the world that you can't go to? Shiziu also said, you have a lot of hair, I need it, give it to me. Everyone is fighting for it. The New Year pigs raised in the village are of an unimaginable level. Every hair of that pig is considered a treasure. Next to him, Xueji saw this, his face turned cold, and he said, please behave yourself. Suddenly, a dung fork appeared in his hand. As soon as the dung fork came out, everyone including the demon ancestor immediately fell silent, very frightened. The forbidden smell on the dung fork was too strong. Line in line and get them one by one. Xueji spoke, then looked at Ming Tianbei and said, Brother Tianbei, give me one first. Everyone. Soon. The bonfire dispersed. Li Fan first took Yongzi back and took care of her to sleep. Then, Nanfan, Xiling, Subakian, Xining, and Gongya were brought back one by one. Only then did they drag Wu Dade and the others away. After doing all this, Li Fan took a nap under the peach tree. Time is like water. He couldn't help but sigh and murmured. Another winter wind has passed, and all old friends and acquaintances have disappeared. The world is a big dream, and there are several cool autumns in life. He drank his last glass of wine and got up to go to bed. A cold wind blew through the courtyard. Open the door and see Ming Ming, their karma has not dissipated. The hen whispers. Dosha said. They are like disappearing stars. They have experienced countless lives and deaths, and countless reincarnations. The master has made a move. Soon, they will light up the vast night sky. Tonight, the chicken is speechless, the peach is speechless, and the koi is in trouble. Water, good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 959. True Ancestor Realm, the northern border, is a vast land. The Lord of the Time and Space Palace, with the 4 overlords, crossed the Great Wall and walked out of the void. Although they are not dead, their faces are all a little pale. It's a scam. Lu Ba's face was filled with anger and he said, how dare the visitors deceive us? Xuanhuan was also afraid and said, when the Great Wall of Bones fell, I thought I was going to die. The Master of Time and Space Hall brought the 8 overlords across the border. As a result, when passing through the Tianmen of the Bone City, 4 of them were tricked and killed. If it hadn't been for the decisive action of the Master of Time and Space Hall, they might have all perished. But the Master of Time and Space Palace took out something and said, if it weren't for this thing, I would probably be bleeding. Everyone looked and saw that it was a dark red clod of soil. The true ancestors have discovered the backhand behind the 10,000 paths ending outside the forbidden area. Although they haven't broken through it yet, they have already dug up a piece of soil. The Master of Time and Space Palace spoke calmly and said, this soil is stained with her blood from the past. Hearing this, Lu Ba and others immediately understood. It was only because of this clod of soil stained with the blood of Wan Dao that they could escape from death. Palace Master, what should we do now? Lu Ba asked. The Lord of Time and Space Palace said, I want to find the Destiny Pen, the Pale Scroll, and the owner of this source-eating poisonous insect first. With a touch of coldness in his eyes, he said, Wandeo ending, although they brought their corpses back, they are still evil corpses. It would be best for them to control these treasures. After all, there are still back UPS left by 10,000 ways end in this world. He is cautious in doing things and will never put himself in danger until the last moment. With that said, the Master of Time and Space Hall took out 3 treasures and sneered. I have already felt the location of the evil corpse, come with me. They stepped out immediately. The first direction. One of the 4 realms and 8 wildernesses, the Pomo Deo realm. And at this moment. Visitor. It's a scam. Du Lao appeared, his face was very ugly, and he said. The Great Wall set a trap, and 4 overlord-level beings died. Hearing this, Hui He's expression changed drastically. Shouldn't the city gate at the World Sacrifice Temple be opened? He muttered. Du Lao said in a deep voice. There must be a ghost in the Temple of Sacrifice. Hui He's face was also very ugly. Damn undercover, 4 more overlords were tricked to death. But fortunately, the big shot is safe and sound. Du Lao then spoke and said. He has crossed the Great Wall, and now he is going to find the remaining 3 of the 10 evil spirits. In 3 days, that big shot will destroy this world. Be prepared. Hui He nodded and said. Okay, Hui He understands. Then, Hui He immediately sent a message to the World Sacrifice Temple. Chang Sun Chang Ching, what did you do? The inner ghost still exists and killed the big shot from the Grey Mist Sea. He was annoyed. Although this world will be destroyed in 3 days, he is still angry and wants the World Sacrifice Temple to catch the ghost. Inside the Temple of Sacrifice, many ultimates are gathered together. The latest news came from the explorers. Chang Sun Changking's expression turned extremely ugly and he said. Something happened to the big shot in the Grey Mist Sea. Being tricked and killed. Hearing this, everyone's expressions changed. What? How is this possible? Don't we already have people at the Great Wall to support us? What's going on? Everyone looked at each other. Chang Sun Changqing stood up and said. There is a mole among us. Hearing this, everyone's expressions changed. Who is it? They asked questions. Chang Sun Changqing said. Brother Ning, do it. He trailed off. Ning Tianji already had a frosty long knife in his hand. He was caught off guard and slashed Wu Jindao's neck with the knife. Ah! Wu Jiandao's head was cut off directly. What are you doing? Wu Jindao trembled, his head was cut off, but he did not die. He held his head with both hands and kept retreating. Zhang Shan was also frightened and said. Brother Chang Qing. Chang Sun Changqing said coldly. It's you, a member of the martial clan, who tricked and killed the big shot in the Grey Mist Sea. Wu Fengbei has now made great achievements and was promoted to Commander-in-Chief by the Great Wall. You're not the mole, who is? Hearing this, Zhang Shanju was instantly shocked and angry. He looked at Wu Jiandao and said. Well, Takeshi, it turns out you are a mole too. Chang Sun Changqing gave an order and said. Kill the inner ghost. Suddenly, the 3 of them joined forces. In the Temple of Sacrifice, a terrifying battle suddenly broke out. Wu Jindao fled in a hurry and ran outside the Temple of Sacrifice. However, this time, the outside of the Sacrifice Temple was filled with killing formations, etc., which directly blocked him completely. At the end of the world, Ning Tianji takes crazy action, and the final battle begins, shocking the whole world. What happened? There's another final battle, what's going on? Everyone was shocked, and the entire true ancestor world was paying attention. Finally, in the sky above the sacrifice of the world, a scene like this appeared. The boundless avenue collapsed, and a small path condensed by the rules of the avenue collapsed. It rained heavily in the sky, the mist rolled, and countless paths returned to the world. The one who hit the road has fallen. God, how is this possible? Who died? What's going on? The true ancestor realm was shocked. That is the celestial phenomenon of the fall of those who are on the road. They will eventually perish and return to heaven. The elegant and gentle Changsun Changqing held Wu Jiandao's head and told the world. Wu Jiandao is treasonous and unethical, and he is trying to do harm to the true ancestor realm. We have already killed him. The Wu clan should sit together, and the benevolent people in the world should treat the three traitorous clans as barbarians. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. On that day, under the command of Changsun Changqing, the Changsun family, Ning family, Zhang family, and other major families attacked the Wu clan. The Wu clan was directly killed and leveled. In one day, the Wu clan, one of the 9 great immortal ancient clans, disappeared from this world. At the same time, a major civil war broke out within another family, the Ji family. Ji Xuanhuan, a strong man from the Ji family, suddenly appeared. In one battle, he killed 7 of the family's top openers, and he declared that he would completely separate himself from Ji Wulu. It was a great purge, and the entire Ji family's ancestral home was flooded with blood. Some people claimed that 7 out of 10 members of the Ji family died. From today on, among the 9 ancient immortal clans, the Yang and Zhang clans have long since disappeared, the Wu clan has been annihilated, and the Ji family has been completely transformed. Only the 5 major families, including the Changsun family and the Ning family, are still standing. The situation has changed, and the true ancestor realm is completely in chaos. At the same time, one of the 4 realms and 8 wildernesses, the Pomo Deo realm. The Tao domain is like a scroll. There is a palace at the intersection of black and yellow Qi in Pomo Deo domain. What is amazing is that the palace is actually suspended on a piece of white paper. That piece of white paper clearly exuded amazing energy. In the palace, it was extremely quiet. However, there were 2 women painting silently. One of them, wearing a veil and a long black dress, was cool and elegant, looking at a painting in her hand intently. That painting contains a vast and infinite world. Among them, there are endless mountains, magnificent surging rivers, villages living under the mountains, smoke curling from the kitchens, boats waiting to be crossed by the rivers, and fishing boats singing late. There are bright lights in the big city, fireworks in the small town, some people are running around, some are indulgent, some are drawing eyebrows for their wives, some are sending their children to school. In this painting, it seems that all the scenes of the world have been preserved. In the center of the painting, there is a man with lively features and a smile on his lips. He looks towards the person outside the painting, as if he is accompanying him silently and for a long time. The woman in black skirt caressed the man for a long time, then suddenly smiled and said, "Mr. Lang, you should go to the West Pond to see the fish today. Remember to come back and write me a poem." As she said that, the man disappeared. Then, as she traced it with her brush, the man appeared in the painting, on the bank of a lake with great scenery, watching fish in a leisurely and contented manner. She is using her own way to let her husband live in a world in a painting. Next, she seemed to no longer want to disturb her husband, and raised her eyes to look at the woman next to her. The woman was extremely elegant, wearing a tassel-like purple dress, but her eyes seemed dull. She held a brush in her hand and kept drawing on a blank scroll, but when the pen tip fell, she did not draw any shape. She just kept moving mechanically, over and over again, never stopping. "Sister, change the paper." The woman in the black skirt spoke with some pity, and she gave the girl in the purple skirt a piece of rice paper. The girl in the purple skirt is as if she doesn't hear it. "Although my husband is dead, I still remember his appearance, but you are even more pitiful than me. You can't even draw thousands of obsessions in exchange for splashing ink without a trace. The woman in black skirt shook her head. But, at this moment, the girl in the purple skirt suddenly stopped holding the paintbrush in her hand, raised her eyes dully, and looked outside the hall. The woman in the black skirt immediately felt something. She raised her eyes and frowned suddenly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 960. In the main hall, the girl in the purple dress with dull eyes looked outside the main hall, her eyes fixed on her. The woman in the black skirt frowned, stood in front of the girl in the purple skirt, looked outside, and said coldly, "We are in peace with the world, who will disturb us?" As she finished speaking, she saw a figure appearing at the door of the hall. He came wearing a bronze mask and a pale golden robe, with his hands behind his back. Entering the hall, he looked at the woman in black skirt and said calmly, "Painting ancestor, Xuanhuan, did I remember your name correctly?" Hearing this, the woman in black skirt suddenly had a look of fear in her eyes and said, "Your Excellency, you came from the Grey Mist Sea." The Master of Time and Space Palace did not answer, but continued. "Back then, you were a peerless genius who entered the true ancestor's field of vision, but in the end, you resisted the way of the Grey Mist. Haha, you have followed the end of 10,000 paths to this world for many years, and you are still just on the road. This is the result you want." Xuanhuan said coldly. "True ancestor? Have you ever seen the true ancestor fearing as much as a tiger when the end of 10,000 paths passes by? Is there anything worth saying?" The Lord of Time and Space Palace shook his head and said, "Stubborn." He turned his eyes, looked at the girl in the purple skirt, and said with a smile, "The painting master of the Beiwu ancestral realm, who was once said to be so smart and graceful that he moved the world, has now become nothing more than an empty shell." Xuanhuan said, "She is not an empty shell, her heart is filled with true love." The Master of Time and Space Palace couldn't help but sneer and said, "Ridiculous. I know your story. You were originally from a world of white mist. When the grey mist arrived in your world, you refused to obey the grey mist, and the whole world fell into strangeness. In the end, you turned your entire world into your own. You want to use this painting to make your lover, the creature in your world, realize eternal life, right?" Xuanhuan said. "What does it have to do with you?" The Lord of Time and Space Palace said, "I just want to tell you that there is no point in living in a fantasy. This life has arrived. You can either embrace the grey mist or enter the painting with your lover and become a dead person." His words were cold. Xuanhuan's eyes were equally cold and he said, "Just you." The brush in her hand moved. Suddenly, there seemed to be endless heavens descending on the field, trying to suppress everything. The area where the Lord of Time and Space is located is even more torn apart, and there is an inexplicable force that wants to kill the Lord of Time and Space. Only on the road. The Master of the Time and Space Palace was disdainful, and when he raised his hand, the great magic came out, turning into a celestial river to protect himself, as if he was invulnerable to all means. However, the next moment, his mana flowed like a river and flew away. A comet-like divine sword slashed directly towards his throat. The face of the Master of Time and Space Palace changed slightly. He did not expect that the painter's attainments were so high. He no longer hesitated, and a scroll suddenly appeared in his hand. The scroll opens. That is a pale picture. In an instant, the 10,000 realms of heaven, the power of rules, the peerless magic weapons, etc., all described by the painter Xuanhuan disappeared. Before that pale scroll, everything seemed to be zero. Xuanhuan's expression changed and she said, This is her past picture scroll, how come it is in your hands? The girl in the purple skirt had raised her eyes at the moment, looking at the pale scroll, and subconsciously stretched out her hand, as if she wanted to touch it. One of the 4 realms and 8 wildernesses, the realm of creation. The mountains and rivers in this Dao domain stand upright, and the rivers are crisscrossed like runes. In this world, there is a forbidden place, Xian Mountain. The 10 Seal Mountains, as its name suggests, are 10 mountains that look like great seals, arranged together. Every mountain towers into the clouds and is magnificent. But under the 10 mountains, there is an underground palace. The underground palace was suppressed by 10 mountains, making it dark and dark. In the darkness, there is a hazy white light. It was a humanoid creature. He slept on top of a coffin. His body was covered with white hair. He locked himself up with thick chains and seemed unwilling to wake up. But, right now, suddenly there was a loud bang in the underground palace. One corner collapsed. The white-haired man immediately stood up and turned his head to look in the direction of the collapse. In the darkness, a man wearing a pale golden robe and a bronze mask came with his hands behind his back. Master Tian, Chen Dong. The Lord of Time and Space Palace said calmly. It is said in the world that you were unlucky in your later years and had red hair. But why are your hair white? Hearing this, Master Tian's eyes shot out a faint cold light and said, Because I ate your ancestor. The Lord of Time and Space Palace. Time worms, deep fried until golden, what a wonderful taste, so memorable. Master Tian licked the corner of his mouth, seeming to have an aftertaste, and said, Although the cooking skills of Wandao ending are not very good, your ancestors are really top-notch ingredients and often only require the simplest cooking methods. Back then, when he met Wandao Dingming once gave him some snacks. Those snacks are things that Wandao Dingming exploded himself, such as exploding space-time bugs and exploding chaos demon bees. The taste is really amazing. The master of the Time and Space Palace is a powerful member of the Time and Space Insect clan. Upon hearing this, a look of anger flashed across his face, and his eyes became extremely cold, and he said, It seems that you are stubborn. If you don't drink the toast, you will be fined. Master Tian sneered. Young insect, I advise you to go back to your sea of grey mist as soon as possible. Otherwise, if you stay in this world, you will be bombed. This is a bad sign. You must not disbelieve what this heavenly master says. The Lord of Time and Space Palace said coldly. Can you tell my fortune? Are you worthy of it? After saying that, a pen suddenly appeared in his hand. Destiny pen. As soon as the stroke came out, all the white hairs on Master Tian's body stood up like steel needles, and he was completely shocked. It's actually this pen. He patted the coffin behind and said, Your pen is here, why don't you get up and take a look? Snapped. The coffin board was directly knocked away, and a strange red light shone out of the coffin. Is this coffin the former Supreme Being? The Master of Time and Space Palace murmured. He picked up the Destiny pen and said, This is your pen. How about using this pen to give the true Ancestor realm a complete ending? He spoke into the coffin. But, the next moment, the strange red light in the coffin disappeared. The Lord of Time and Space Palace was confused. But, he suddenly felt like there was something on his shoulder, it was furry. At this moment, the Master of Time and Space Palace felt his hair standing on end, and he subconsciously turned his head. Behind him, a humanoid creature appeared. This humanoid creature was covered with long red hair, and an ominous aura shrouded its whole body. Its eyes flashed with black light as it looked at the Lord of Time and Space. It's actually red hair, the highest state of ominousness. The Lord of Time and Space Hall was immediately horrified. Turning into a red-haired monster means being completely eroded by ominousness. The supreme creation, actually turned into such a ghost. My pen, the pen comes. The red-haired monster spoke in a low voice. Go to bed. I'm too tired from work these days. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 961. Xuanhuan domain. The last domain among the 4 domains and 8 wastelands. Xuanhuan realm actually has another name, medicine realm. There are many illusions in this world, and in the illusions, unimaginable magical medicines often grow. If you can experience the illusion without dying, and leave with the magic medicine, you will almost soar into the sky. However, those who can get the opportunity are rare. The most famous illusion in the Xuanhuan realm is the Holy Land of 10,000 Flowers in the southern region. This is an endless sea of flowers, with endless flowers blooming in spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Gorgeous and colorful, everlasting. According to legend, in the Holy Land of 10,000 Flowers, where the Lord of Illusions lives, there is the most elusive magical medicine in the world. But throughout the ages, all cultivators who went to the Holy Land of 10,000 Flowers died. Even some of the door openers of the 9 ancient immortal clans wanted to enter the 10,000 Flowers holy realm to have a chance in a lifetime in their later years, but they all ended up falling. Therefore, no one dares to take a step now. Today, the Grey Avenue stretches down from the sky. Arrive directly at the edge of the 10,000 Flowers holy land. A man walked down the Grey Avenue and stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the 10,000 Flowers holy land in front of him, pondering for a long time and frowning. He found that, he didn't seem to be sure of cracking this illusion. He decided not to be as good as guilty. The master of the Grey Mist Sea Time and Space Palace has come to see the goddess of the immortal ancient relics. Can you leave the illusion to see her? He spoke loudly. However, in the illusion, a faint female voice sounded, saying, "Since entering the Beiwu ancestral realm, I have severed ties with Grey Wu Hien and disappeared." The Lord of Time and Space Palace was silent for a moment and said, "There is a forbidden immortal tribulation light flashing across the grey fog sea, it has been collected by the true ancestors. It can help the girl cultivate an immortal body and avoid the pain of death." As soon as he finished speaking, the endless illusion in front of him suddenly disappeared. He saw the real scene here. There is only a barren and dry land with no flowers or plants at all. In the distance of the dry and cracked earth, there are lonely tombs. In front of the tomb are various tombstones. Among the tombs, there is a woman. She is doing embroidery in her hands, and the embroidery is bright red and purple. Her whole person has a cold temperament, like an independent fairy. Miss Xuanhuan. The Lord of Time and Space Palace opened his mouth and said, "All the remaining members of the immortal ancients have suffered from the disease of death and withered away. The true ancestors are very sad. They have found the forbidden immortal path tribulation light, which can help you achieve the legendary immortal body." He knows a lot. The woman in front of me is named Xuanhuan, and she is the last member of the immortal ancient family. According to legend, the immortal ancient relics are not natives of the Grey Mist Sea, but fell out from an unspeakable place. This clan is extremely powerful, and they are born with the ability to awaken various extraordinary supernatural powers. They have even suppressed the Grey Mist Sea for several eras. However, this clan has a fatal weakness. People born with the disease of death have short lives, often less than 1,000 years. Moreover, it is difficult for this family to have children. Over time, this clan has withered away. Xuanhuan is the last person. In order to solve the disease of death, one must either cultivate the legendary forbidden immortal body, which will prevent all diseases, or refine the forbidden elixir, which can save the life of death. Both are extremely difficult to achieve. The chi machine that creates the forbidden immortal body is the forbidden immortal light that only appears in the sea of stars in the universe for millions of years. As for the forbidden elixir, it is just a delusion, because there are no forbidden herbs in the entire grey mist sea, and there are no raw materials for making elixirs. The embroidery woman heard this and said calmly, "I'm not very interested in surviving. But I do want to know, where did you discover the so-called immortal tribulation light?" She is from the immortal ancient relics, and their clan is not the natives of the grey mist sea. Returning to their hometown has always been one of the greatest wishes of the immortal ancient relics. There have been countless predecessors of the immortal ancient relics who died in pursuit of their hometown. And the place where the forbidden fairy light appears, is probably connected to the world they are looking for. She looked at the master of time and space palace and said, "Tell me what you want." The lord of time and space palace said, "The evil corpse of Yeazun." Immortal Governor Jing said coldly, "I have no right to give her to you." The Lord of Time and Space Palace smiled and said, "But if she wants to go with me, you don't have the right to stop her." After saying that, a jade bottle appeared in his hand. In the jade bottle, there was a milky white poisonous insect. A grave next to Xian Dujing suddenly exploded. A woman walked out of it. She has an extraordinary temperament and bright eyes, but her whole body exudes an astonishing poisonous aura. This is a poisonous corpse. Soon, a grey fog avenue, like billions of galaxies, rises into the sky, directly connecting from the Huantiandao domain to the true ancestor realm. This scene is amazing. It should be noted that there is an endless void of space between the Huantiandao realm and the true ancestor realm. Even those who open the door often need to use a teleportation array. It is not easy to cross. What is that? The Grey Avenue. This does not belong to any supreme being. It's a grey creature, a heretic from the Grey Mist Sea. The world was shocked. All major forces in the true ancestor realm are also paying attention. The Grey Mist creatures at this level are definitely beyond the top. No, how did they get here? Didn't the Great Wall of Bones kill those grey fog sea creatures who tried to sneak across? No. No one in the world can resist an existence of this level. The world was in a state of shock. And the Grey Mist Avenue extends directly to the top of the true ancestor realm, heading towards Pao continent, one of the 900 continents. It is said that during the Grey Mist invasion war eons ago, the most brutal battle broke out in this continent between the creatures that invaded the White Mist ancestral realm and the 10 spirits. Hence the name of this continent, Paoyazhu. This continent has always been one of the holy places for people with lofty ideals in the true ancestor world to commemorate their martyrs. Now, the Grey Fog Avenue has descended directly here. I am the Grey Mist Sea, the Lord of Time and Space Palace. The master of the Time and Space Palace stood on the Grey Mist Avenue. His voice was not high-pitched, but it spread throughout the 900 continents of the true ancestor realm. Those who abandon the 9 Dharma and kneel to me will live, those who are stubborn will die if they defy me. One sentence, like a decree from the great Dao, shocked the world. For a time, everyone in the world was furious. People from the Grey Mist Sea actually want to interfere with the affairs of our true ancestor realm. You want us to give up the 9 Dharma, this just shows that the 9 Dharma makes them afraid. I am not willing to give up. Jukva can give us the true ancestor realm a bright future. I will never give it up. Many people are discussing that it is unacceptable for today's true ancestor world to abandon the 9 Dharma. However, at this moment, the master of the Time and Space Palace, standing on the throne of Grey Mist, waved his finger, and from a certain continent, a Chaos Spirit King with fierce words was directly detained by him. Resist me? If you die, your 3 tribes will also perish. The Lord of Time and Space easily killed the Chaos Spirit King. Moreover, he developed the Soul King's original factors and fed them to the source, devouring poisonous insects. On that day, a catastrophe occurred in the continent where the Chaos Spirit King was located. Everyone related to the Spirit King died, and they were extremely miserable and were eaten by a poisonous insect. Even the unknown illegitimate son of the Spirit King was dead. That Spirit King was also from a large clan, and hundreds of thousands of people were wiped out. The master of time and space palace took back the source-eating poisonous insect and was very satisfied. This is just an experiment on his part, killing the chicken to scare the monkeys at the same time. Those who are disrespectful will die. The Lord of Time and Space reiterated indifferently. Now that he has taken control of the overall situation, it only takes him a moment to destroy the entire true ancestor realm, so he is patient and takes his time. Let all the people in this world guarded by the end of 10,000 paths kneel in front of you. The 10 creatures saved by the 2 evil spirits all trembled to welcome the grey mist. He wanted to comfort those grey mist ancestors who were killed by the 10 lords and 2 murderers in Powa continent. This is what he wants. This incident instantly made the entire true ancestor realm indignant. The strong men from the grey mist sea have come to the true ancestor realm to show off their power. It's time for the 9 ancient immortal clans to take action. Yes, where is the temple of sacrifice to the world? People from the true ancestor realm slaughter living beings. The temple of sacrifice to the world is supposed to protect the realm of the true ancestor. Where are they? How can you, the superior ultimates, just watch? All parties were outraged and public opinion was fierce. Ordinary cultivators are not even qualified to take action. The existence of the world sacrifice temple seems to be the last hope. But then, a piece of news came out. The temple of sacrifice to the world will go to Pauyazhu to meet with the master of time and space palace. This news made everyone feel cold.